been to finally get into that World Cup semi-final?
I suppose is the short answer. We've talked about, and people have talked about what we've done over the last number of years, and I suppose the level of performance that we've been able to achieve, and the big wins and things like that. So is the short answer. It gives us massive belief in terms of the ability we have in the squad and what we can do. And on the other side is, there's enough of us in the room that have been through these quarterfinals and know how tough they are to win, and it all comes down to on the day. So we've done good things over the past few years. There's probably a bit more built up behind us in terms of what we've done. This is, we feel in a good space in terms of what we can deliver. Like Vinny was saying, you don't really know what's going to come with the All Blacks. You have an idea, but with Joe and people like that behind the scenes, we've got to be ready for things that we might not expect. So I suppose we're in a good place, and it's as good as a position as we've ever been in. But saying that, we know how tough it's going to be.
Hi lads, Conor, just one for you. I was asking the players about the Irish fans and the influence that they're having. Other nations are now speaking about the fans and saying, it's incredible to see them and the effect they're having. For you, is this the best experience of Irish fans that you've ever felt? Yeah, hands down. I was chatting to Scotland's Chris Harris after the game, and he was saying, your fans they're a thing now. People are talking about them, and they certainly are. We stay outside of Paris a little bit, and getting the bus into the stadium on match day is spine tingling. And a lot of us have been around a while and have played in big stadiums and big occasions, but this is definitely another level. The songs they're starting to sing that have kind of taken over, to get to that stage, at the end of a game with a win is certainly a little part of the motivation to hear that again and give those fans who've gone deep into their pockets to keep turning up week in, week out, and they deserve something special, and they definitely give us a lift. It nearly feels like a home game in that stadium at the moment. When you mentioned the songs, do you like hearing Zombie? Yeah, as a Limerick man, it's haven't been to a few hurling games. It's one we get behind. Bundy thinks they're singing Bundy at the time, but they're definitely not.
Conor, you've obviously played with Johnny for a very long time, and he seems to be really enjoying this World Cup on the pitch. You see him kind of engaging with the crowd a lot and kind of soaking up the atmosphere. Can you just tell us a bit about what it's been like behind the scenes, and have you noticed anything different about him compared to the seasons ago?
It's a nightmare. Yeah, absolute nightmare after that. You're right. I think I suppose firstly Johnny's playing unbelievable rugby. I think that's any player when they're playing well, they tend to be in better moods around the place, and Johnny, obviously an unbelievable leader of the team, but expects really high standards of himself, and I think he's whatever age he is, he's playing some of the best rugby of his life, and he kind of just reflects the mood in the camp. Like, I don't know how many times I've said it in media how enjoyable it is in the environment that we've created, and Faz and everyone down from there has created. So he's just another player that's loving life at the moment, and I've seen Faz said it's right now that this is living, and we're in an extremely privileged position. You talk about the fans coming over, and they're over to support us, and it's a truly special place to be, and that's again part of the motivation to keep this thing going.
Conor, the All Blacks have spoken about them being a totally different team compared to last summer. Does that work both ways, and can you give us any insight into how Ireland have evolved since you last faced them?
Yeah, I think every team tries to evolve, tries to improve game on game, year on year, and the All Blacks are no different. What happened in the summer was incredible. It was a really special tour, really special series win. But we've the way Vinny and all the lads have analysed them, and we've seen a lot of it too. They've definitely improved. They've grown their game. They've learned from definitely that series, and if you stand still as a team in the modern era, you're going to get left behind. So both teams have developed. I've played against the All Blacks where we've beaten them and we've played them a week later, and they're a completely different animal. So if you look at it that way, I suppose, will there be a reaction from the summer? Like I've heard people talk about that, use it as motivation. I'm sure they will be, and they'll be coming out with a point to prove. And sure, World Cups, they're historically an unbelievable side. So we got to be ready for the best version of them on the weekend.
Conor, experience is obviously important, but there's loads of guys even in the 23 this weekend who weren't there in 2019. How important have they been to driving this whole thing on? There's a fearlessness maybe to that.
Yeah, I think you said it, fearlessness. There's something about those guys like Mac or even like Jimmy coming in on the bench. There's no issue that there's complete confidence in Jimmy and these kind of guys. Like you said, they weren't there in 2019. That was a tough World Cup for all of us, and we had to dust ourselves off and kind of get rid of that scar tissue and move on. Whereas these guys have come into a really good environment, and I suppose winning more often than not is something they're used to. So you would think, I know I'm talking about Jimmy coming in on the bench. It's a huge game, but he's used to it. He's delivered for us in the past and in the limited number of caps he's had. So I think that for us anyway, for me, and I'm sure the more experienced lads would agree, those lads coming into the environment, they've added a freshness, a fearlessness is the word I'd use again, that drives us on to kind of chase success and expect to win.
Boys, quick question for each of you. Firstly, Conor, if you snuck into the All Black camp and you're in their team meeting, what do you think they'd be saying about this Irish team?
Don't know what Joe would be saying about us. Traditionally, I suppose the All Blacks, they really focus on themselves and what they can do and the standards they hold themselves to. But I suppose if you were to think about it, what we'd like is, and I would assume there's a bit of respect there now. Over the last number of years, we've had great tussles with them. When I started off in my international career, playing against New Zealand was really daunting, and it still is. But did we really expect to beat them? Is questionable. And whereas now, there's definitely a bit more belief with the understanding of how good they are and how hard it is going to be to beat them. But there's definitely a respect there on both sides. Your turn.
For you, the group and the nation, all the momentum building behind Ireland at the moment to reach your first ever World Cup semi-final?
Yeah, it means everything. On the outside, it's obviously a talking point that we've never got there. Within the group, we think this is a different team, and the capabilities are different. But yeah, to get to that point would be everything. Like this weekend is the biggest game I've ever played, and it's the same for everyone in the group. So that alone, to get through that would be a huge moment, a huge milestone. Breaking a quarterfinal isn't something we talk about. Where it's cliche, but game on game, we're focusing on the next moment. But yeah, like the opportunity, and with the group we have, such a special group, it's something we're chasing, something we'd absolutely love to do for ourselves and for the fans that are here and at home. But I can't get away from how hard it's going to be, how difficult a task it is. But yeah, it would mean the world to all of us to get to that next stage.
Last two questions, I'll leave them to
Conor, you've got 3 Kiwis in your squad. Can you give us an idea of how they've been this week and the sort of motivation they hold to hopefully knock the All Blacks out of the World Cup?
It's a trade of Mac. No, that's Louis, Gemma, and who's the third? Sorry.
trying to find who the 3 are.
Yeah, who's the third?
James,
Bondi, sorry, yeah. Yeah, Samoan, no. Huh? Samoan, yeah. Yeah, like those 3 boys, so important to our squad, and I suppose what they did, taking the chance to come over here and start a new life for themselves and prove themselves, and all 3 of them have really done so. And they're 3 world-class players who we're going to rely on heavily and have performed unbelievably well in this competition. Particularly Bundy, I hate saying it, but he's been playing the rugby of his life, and you know, he can come across as a bit of a messer, you know, a bit of a jolly fella, but like behind the scenes, Bundy's incredible. You know, the level of detail, I'm sure Vinny will agree, he's always on the computers and always trying to figure things out, so it's actually a smart fella, believe it or not. So yeah, it hasn't really been mentioned, you know, the New Zealand thing, you know, they're part of our Irish team now, and they're really important to us, and I'm sure, you know, there's a part of them that, you know, they're a little bit extra that they want to get one over on their place of birth, but yeah, they're fully part of our Irish squad now.